Wildcard week in the Always Sunny in Sayreville League, and two more teams have been eliminated from playoff contention. The outcomes may have been a surprise to some, but two strong teams are moving on to the semifinals, and the games should continue to be extremely competitive. Injuries this week. As I noted at the end of last week's episode, Alvin Kamara suffered a concussion right at the beginning of the Thursday night game, and that pretty much set the tone for the entire weekend for Toddler Fight Club. Joe Mixon also missed his game with injury, but Gio Bernard filled in admirably. High score this week was Antonio Brown, who scored 37.3 points to lead the Beer Muscles to a huge franchise-defining win over Toddler Fight Club. The margin of victory, just 7.1 points. The final score, 114.8 to 107.7. Now, this game was hideously ugly, to be sure, but to one man, it was the most beautiful victory in history. 6 out of 10 players scoring in single digits. Another one in the negative. Only Antonio Brown and Leonard Fournette exceeding 10.5 points, and the team not even reaching 115. Now these are all GOAT stats, but on this weekend, none of that mattered, because with this, the biggest win in franchise history, Bobby J moves on to the second round of the playoffs for the first time in franchise history. He breaks a 5-year losing streak against Toddler Fight Club, and he secures bragging rights over Albert for an entire year. And for that, Beer Muscles is this week's hero. And now for just a little bit more on this huge win, let's see if we can catch up on Bobby J along his path to the semifinals.
Hey, Albert. Karma's a bitch, ain't it, dude? Unfortunately, in every contest, there must be a winner and a loser. And you lost. Bottom line is, buddy, you might have won the battle in week 8, but Bobby J, at least for this year, has won the war. Better luck next year, pal. Tastes like victory.
Now, unfortunately, in every playoff contest, there must be a winner and a loser. And in this case, it's not so much the fact that Toddler Fight Club lost, but it's more how they lost that we need to talk about. 4 players scored in single digits, 1 player scored a 0, nobody scored over 19 points. And we already know that they were beat up by injury right at the beginning of the game. I mean, Joe Mixon didn't even play, and Alvin Kamara got knocked out right at the beginning of the Thursday night game, which was just a gut punch and kind of crippled Toddler Fight Club right at the starting line. But it was a brain cramp that ultimately finished off Toddler Fight Club in this contest. Last week when we did the position-by-position breakdown, we noticed that Case Keenum was the starting quarterback for Toddler Fight Club. Case Keenum came from the depths of the Minnesota depth chart to become a pretty legit quarterback in fantasy football this year. And yet somehow, between Thursday and the breakdown and Sunday when the games kicked off, Albert was once again seduced by that red hair and inexplicably turned from the rock-solid Case Keenum to Andy Dalton at quarterback. Just out of nowhere, decided to roll with Andy Dalton, the Red Rifle, and straight up cost him the game. Plain and simple. And for that, the Toddler Fight Club is this week's GOAT. Okay, so in our other wildcard matchup, actual points were scored. It was great. The MOTH was victorious by a score of 155.7 to 140.7. Each team actually had 7 players scoring in double digits. The MOTH was led by Todd Gurley's 28.5 and Kenyon Drake's 26.3, and the Gotham Rogues got 25.8 points out of Russell Wilson and 23.6 out of LaShawn McCoy. But interestingly enough, it was actually the kicker and defense that swung the game in the MOTH's favor. The MOTH got 30 points out of his kicker and defense combo, 19 coming from his kicker. The Gotham Rogues got 9 points out of his kicker and defense combo, 0 points coming from his defense. So while there was a lot of big scores all over the board, the kicker and defense had a lot to say about the outcome in this game. Kenyon Drake delivered the dagger on Monday Night Football, sending the MOTH into the semifinals, and unfortunately sending the Gotham Rogues to clean out his locker and set his sights on next year's draft. Speaking of the draft, I didn't mention it at the end of the regular season exactly, but as of right now, The first 8 picks in the 2018 draft are locked and loaded. So with the first pick in next year's draft, it'll be Rutherford v. Hazy. Second pick belongs to the Golden Showers. The third pick is the Rusty Strombone. Fourth pick is I'm with Stupid. Fifth is Sweep the Leg. Sixth is Bootleg Crab Leg. Seventh is Toddler Fight Club. And eighth is the Gotham Rogues. And as you guys may or may not know, draft slot trading is allowed. You can't just trade your first round pick for somebody else's first round pick, or like a second and a third for a first. You can't do any of that, but you can just trade your slot for somebody else's. If you're picking second and somebody else is picking ninth and you'd rather pick ninth and let them pick second, you can swap the entire thing, but not just one round for one round. So there you go. Alright guys, key matchups. We have 2 huge semifinal games to break down, so let's just get right into it. The first game is between the number 1 overall seed, finishing the regular season on an 8-game winning streak with a record of 11-2, the Schwartz, facing off against number 5 seed coming off a huge win last week, finished the regular season with a record of 7-6, the Moth. Now these two teams have never met in their history. Obviously the Schwartz is a brand new team in the league, but they didn't play this year, so I don't have any historical matchup data to give you guys. So instead, let's just talk about some other stats from this season. The highest scoring player on the Schwartz roster this year has been Adam Thielen, who finished as the wide receiver 8 overall. He scored 196.7 points, or about 16.4 a game. Todd Gurley was the Moth's highest scoring player. He was the number 1 overall running back. He scored 270.2 points, or an average of about 22.5 per game. As a team, the Moth was the 5th highest scoring team in the league this year, and the Schwartz was the 6th highest scoring team in the league. The Moth averaged 131.7 points per game, and the Schwartz averaged 127.4. The Schwartz actually averaged the lowest per game point total of any team in the playoffs. Furthermore, the Schwartz, when you take a look at the numbers a little bit closer, may have played the softest schedule in the entire league this season. Now, we already know that the average team scored 126 points per game this season. Well, the average opponent of the Schwartz only scored 109.6 points per game this season. And the next closest team had 121.8 points per game scored against them. So the Schwartz had by far and away the fewest points scored against them, both per game and in total on the season, of any team in the league, playoff team or non-playoff team. The bottom line is, teams scored their lowest outputs of the season when they played against the Schwartz. It's like the reverse sweep of the leg effect. In fact, teams only scored over 120 points 3 times against the Schwartz all season long, and the Schwartz lost 2 of those games. So when you get right down to it, and this is not the position by position breakdown, somebody else is taking care of that, but this is just this journalist. If the Moth scores over 120 points, he wins this game. There's 2 outcomes that are going to happen. Either the Moth takes a complete crap all over himself and scores no points, and once again the Schwartz walks, or the Schwartz loses this game because the Moth is going to score like 130 points and it's not even going to be a contest. That's just one guy reading the numbers. And our other key matchup is another huge game that features number 2 seed, defending champion Team Blumpkin, who finished the regular season with a record of 8-5, taking on number 3 seed 9-4 Beer Muscles, the regular season points champ, who just locked down his first playoff victory in franchise history. These teams did not play each other in the regular season, and they've never faced each other in the playoffs before, and their all-time head-to-head record is 3-3. Even better, in the regular season, the Beer Muscles point total was 1741.4. Team Blumpkin was 1739.8. 1.6 points separated these 2 teams in the final overall total points for the regular season. These 2 teams are very evenly matched. Bobby J basically took money right out of Mike's pocket at the very end of the season by 1.6 points, and now it's time for these 2 teams to face off for the opportunity to go to the championship. Team Blumpkin's highest scoring player this season was Cam Newton, who finished as the quarterback 6, scoring 230.8 points, or about 19.2 per game. And as we noted last week, Antonio Brown, the number 1 overall wide receiver, was Beer Muscle's highest scoring player, scoring 275.6 points, or about 23 per game. So we have 2 very evenly matched teams. We have 2 very interesting games this week. And we have 4 teams battling for the opportunity to play for the championship in just 1 more week. So that's it, guys. Wildcard Week update over. Remember to set your lineups, remember to vote in the polls, and I will see you guys next week, where it's always sunny. Ready to go.
Yep. Who do you want to go? What do we want to do first? What matchup?
You want to do the 1-5 first?
Yeah, you can lead.
Okay, all right, here we go.
Yeah.
All right, and welcome everybody to the bonus position by position breakdown. I am lucky enough to be joined live right now from the middle of America, Mr. Daniel Mack. Danny, thank you for taking a few minutes.
Right. What's up?
Hey, man.
Middle Bear / Packer country.
Right, like you're
like literally in the middle, like where I used to live, like 15 minutes from like the Mason-Dixon line of Philly, New York fans. You know, assuming Lacey Township is that line
or close to it.
Right. Here I'm kind of like literally 2 minutes, like 2 minutes tops from Wisconsin. So you go to Walmart here and you get Packers or Bears stuff.
Nice. You're in rivalry.
Yeah.
You're in rivalry country.
Yes. Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
Although the Bears kind of suck, but they're probably as good as the Packers this year because Aaron Rodgers got hurt.
Yeah, not for
So
long.
if you ever thought Aaron Rodgers was overrated, let the last few games be a reminder of how fucking stupid you are.
That's right. Brett Hundley will explain it to you. All right, so here we are.
1 first 5. I got my tablet here. I'm going to bring it up next to me.
Okay, so we got the 1 seed Schwartz, 11-2, riding an 8-game winning streak, coming off the first round bye. We have the Moth, the 5 seed, who won his first round matchup in a high scoring game, 7-6, and looking strong.
I just noticed I'm playing the Rusty Trombone. He didn't make the playoffs either.
Everybody.
That guy's always in the playoffs.
Yeah, not this year.
So me, you, and Ant, no one made the playoffs?
Me, you, Ant, Johnny. That's right. Yeah.
Oh,
Me, you, and Anthony are picking in the top 5.
Wow, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, man.
That's weird.
Topsy-turvy world. Yo, the number 1 scoring team in the league was Bobby J. So, anything's possible.
Yeah, I mean, there's that. There's a thing, I guess, right now? Bobby J, high scorer. That's a thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on. It's Trump's America, man.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, this is what he meant by great again, I guess. Go Bobby J.
Yeah. Okay.
I guess we know who sold his soul to the devil. All right, where am I at?
The 1-5.
Schwartz Moth, all right. And Moth only a 5. He's usually got one of the highest scoring teams in the league.
Yeah, he went on a little bit of a swoon. He had a 4-game losing streak.
He had a really good start and then a weak finish, and then.
Yeah.
All right. So our first matchup, the Moth versus Schwartz, 1 versus 5. Quarterback, Phillip Rivers at KC. Matt Ryan at Tampa Bay. I'm going to go with Rivers. Just think Tampa's defense is bad, but they've at least gotten a little better, and I think they're better than KC's defense. And Chargers really need that win. Well, not it doesn't, but it's pretty much a toss-up, though. But if I had to pick, I guess I'd go Rivers. All right, running backs, Melvin Gordon and Todd Gurley versus Lamar Miller. And, representing the Giants. Not what you want in the playoffs. Darka, wow, this is maybe kind of easy. I'm going to have to go with Gurley and Gordon.
And don't forget the flex, because they're both running backs. You may as well.
Freeman, Drake. Well, that brings it back closer, even though Drake's been good. But yeah, big advantage still of them off. Receivers. Emmanuel Sanders, Martavius Bryant, Josh Gordon versus Golden Tate, Adam Thielen, and Chris Hogan. Gonna have to go with the Schwartz. Although Emmanuel Sanders is in the midst, already has 12 points. And Gordon I like as much as Thielen or Hogan, but I can't trust Martavius Bryant with those other guys. Vernon Davis, Travis Keuchel. Yeah, it's not Vernon Davis. So
You don't
flex
think so?
we are, and not even against Arizona. No,
Okay.
no. Why you like him?
No, I'm just kidding.
No, I know. It's just funny.
Travis Keuchel. How
Yeah.
Who could like anybody?
Philly on the road against the Giants or New England at the Patriots. I'm assuming that's going to change before the game, or he's just going to play the Patriots defense on the road in Pitt.
I don't know. Man.
Yeah, so that's contrarian, I guess, which is great for DFS. I don't know about playoffs. Yeah, I guess obviously Philly's defense is the edge. I'm assuming New England is going to get dropped, but maybe not. But if not, yeah, that's kind of a given. The team that's not playing the Steelers at home or on the road, and it also has a somewhat decent defense. And then I'm not going to waste my time on the kicker because, my time's not that valuable, but it's not that useless.
Right on. So who do you think has the edge in the game overall?
I'm going to go, and it's a close one, but I'm going to go with the 5 seed here. The receivers scare me, and I think once you get past the top 3 players, it becomes the Schwartz is better when you get to the receivers, and he's got the edge in tight end, and he's got the edge in flex. Obviously, does not have the edge in defense, but waiver wire could close that gap. But Gordon, Gurley, Miller, that's such a big advantage. So I think I'm going to lean Moth here on the strength of the running backs. This should be a good matchup.
Yeah, definitely. That's exactly what you want in the
in the playoffs.
All right, so now the second matchup we have is going to be the 2-3. And we have
Which is
the number 2 seed, Team Blumpkin, sitting at 8-5, coming off the bye, versus
the Blumpkin Beer Muscles.
Beer Muscles, who's
all right,
the regular season points champ, and he was 9-4.
All right, so we start at quarterback, and Bobby J has Dak Prescott on the road, but against Oakland, whose defense kind of sucks. So you're like, oh, that's pretty much a good quarterback matchup. The chance of the other quarterback having a better matchup are slim. Green Bay's defense, hold my beer. Cam Newton against Green Bay. Got to go with Cam there. They're home, and there's tiers of suckiness. And while Oakland's defense and Green Bay's defense are obviously both in the suckiness tier, I'm going to have to give that edge to Cam, especially with Rodgers possibly coming back. Could force Panthers to actually have to score.
Let me bring your attention real quick before we move on to the fact that Aaron Rodgers is also on the Team Blumpkin bench. If Rodgers is declared go and he's coming back, who do you start, Cam Newton or Aaron Rodgers?
Oh, that's tough. Ooh, and then just as exciting news, David Carr's on the bench for Bobby J.
Is he?
Yeah. Both quarterbacks are playing each other. How about I leave it at this? Whoever Team Bumpkin plays at quarterback will have a humongous advantage.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter which one of the two, assuming somebody hits the waiver wire, Tom Brady. And that's about it. All right, running backs. Fournette and Christian McCaffrey versus Jordan Howard and Jamal Williams. Side note, Caffrey and Howard were my 2 running backs in my other league. So,
Wow. You have a personal investment.
Didn't make the playoffs. Wasn't because of my running backs. Yep, I had those guys as running backs and Antonio Brown. Didn't make the playoffs. Yeah, because why? Fuck me. Yeah, I got to go with Fournette and McCaffrey. Fournette's like Howard, but more consistent with better players around him and a couple passes. And McCaffrey's just much safer than Williams at this point, although they do kind of like Williams. But yeah, edge there to Bobby J. Antonio Brown, Marvin Jones, and Terrence.
No, Tyrell.
Tyrell Williams? Oh, yes. I can't believe I'm saying this, but too bad it's not Terrence Williams. He's awful.
He decided to bench T.Y., who's playing right now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's one route he could have. Sure.
T.Y. would have been a gamble against Denver, and he was sick of waiting for T.Y. to do something. But see, right as of the recording of this, T.Y. only has 7.3 points.
Yeah, which could be about 5 more than Williams scores. So receivers, Antonio, Marvin Jones, and Marvin Jones hit or miss. Marvin hit or miss Jones Jr. and Tyrell Williams versus Doug Baldwin, Landry, and Marcus Lee. This one is tough because Blumpkin has the edge. I'll give Landry a small edge over Jones, although I like Jones' ceiling. Landry's safer, and Lee's obviously got the edge over Williams. Right. And while Baldwin's good, though, I'm going to give a slight edge here again to Bobby J because there's no Antonio Brown's like two players. The advantage is so big in having an equalizer like him, especially at home against New England.
Right.
Yeah, I got to give the edge to Bobby J, which is shocking that he has Marvin Jones and Terrell Williams as 2 and 3 receiver, and here I am saying Bobby J's got the edge with receivers. Let this be a lesson. Antonio Brown is the best player in fantasy football. If David Johnson's the only one in that league. Well, and Bell, but I'll still take Brown. So anyone he forgets and anyone he's stupid enough to, maybe I don't take him as the number 1 wide receiver. No, you're a fucking idiot. Unless you're in our league and I'm drafting and you want to take him, go ahead. What pick do I have, by the way?
2.
Who's got the first pick?
Colin.
Oh, well, Bell's probably better than Brown now that I think about it. All right. Now that that's out of the way. Wait, let me check.
Tight end.
Yep, it says right here, Bell did have more points than Brown. He did. And he should be the number 1 pick next year.
Clearly.
Yes, it says right here. I'm actually reading. Okay, enough about that. Don't edit that out. Tight end, Delaney Walker. Good play against San Fran. Gronkowski, end of discussion. That obviously means edge Blumpkin. Flex, Tyler Lockett. I mean, he plays receiver for the Seahawks, so he's got that going for him. And he's caught passes before.
I heard he scored a touchdown at one point.
He did. I'm Zach Ertz. I'm just going to stop right there. Now we know why Blumpkin's in the playoffs. Gronk and Zach Ertz. It's a hell of a combo. Defense, Baltimore at Cleveland. Good matchup. Minnesota at home against Cincy. I'm going to go Minnesota. They're just better. Kickers, yeah, I'm not going to waste my time with that. Ooh, so this is good. While the edge for Blumpkin and tight end, flex, and quarterback is quite large and receivers close, I'm going to give the slight edge here, I think, to Bobby. You know what? This is going to be a toss-up because I like Blumpkin's lineup more start to finish. But Antonio and Fournette, I mean, that is 2 of the biggest home run hitters in fantasy football right now. And I like McCaffrey in a nice matchup, too. They can cover up a lot of mistakes. So I'm going to go toss-up there. I like Blumpkin's depth more, but I like Bobby J up top. I mean, Antonio and Fournette's a hell of a place to start.
All right, so there you have it. We have the Moth edging out the Schwartz in a very close contest, and the Beer Muscles and the Team Blumpkin in such a close contest that Danny couldn't call it. So we're just going to have to sit back and relax and see how things turn out in the semifinals. Danny, I really appreciate you taking a few minutes to break it all down for us.
No problem. Good luck, guys.